The airport was crowded with noise, rushing footsteps, and endless announcements echoing through giant halls of glass and steel. Travelers hurried toward gates carrying luggage, coffee cups, and unfinished conversations. But among thousands of moving people stood a young man completely still. Nathan Hayes, 29 years old. Tall, sharp-featured, wearing a dark coat and tired eyes that carried the exhaustion of someone who had spent too many years chasing success and too few years living. Nathan was one of the youngest successful business investors in Seattle. People admired his intelligence, ambition, and confidence. Financial magazines called him the future of modern entrepreneurship. But none of those headlines mentioned the truth. Nathan was lonely, painfully lonely. For years, he buried himself inside work after losing his younger brother, Liam, in a car accident. Liam had been his best friend, his only real family. After the accident, Nathan changed completely. He stopped answering friends, stopped trusting people, stopped allowing anyone close enough to hurt him again. Work became his escape, money became distraction, and emotions became weakness. Now he stood inside Seattle International Airport waiting for a delayed flight to New York for another business deal he no longer cared about. Outside, heavy snow covered the runways. Passengers groaned in frustration as more delays appeared on giant screens. Nathan sighed quietly and walked toward a nearby cafe. That was where he first saw her. A young woman sat near the window sketching inside a notebook while snowflakes drifted outside behind her. She had curly dark hair, warm brown eyes, and a calm expression that somehow looked untouched by the chaos around her. Beside her sat a little girl around 7 years old happily eating cookies. The child suddenly dropped her juice accidentally across the floor. "Oh no," the little girl gasped. Several people nearby looked annoyed, but the young woman simply laughed softly. "It's okay, Emma. The floor probably needed juice anyway." The little girl giggled immediately. Nathan found himself staring without realizing it. The woman noticed. "You can stop looking horrified," she said playfully. "We're not dangerous." Nathan blinked awkwardly. "I wasn't horrified. You looked emotionally traumatized by apple juice." For the first time in weeks, Nathan almost smiled. The woman extended her hand. "I'm Ava." "Nathan." Emma suddenly looked at him seriously. "You look sad." Nathan froze slightly. Children always noticed things adults ignored. Ava looked embarrassed. "Emma, that's rude." "No," Nathan said quietly. "She's probably right." Something changed in Ava's expression after that, not pity, understanding. Hours passed while snowstorms delayed flights further. Eventually, most passengers became frustrated and restless. But somehow Nathan remained seated with Ava and Emma talking longer than expected. Ava Morgan was an elementary school art teacher from Portland. Emma was her niece. They were traveling to New York to visit Ava's sister recovering from surgery. Unlike Nathan, Ava spoke openly about life, about dreams, about mistakes, about fear. And strangely, Nathan found himself listening more than talking. At one point, Ava asked, "What do you do?" "Investments." "That sounds exhausting." "It is." "Then why do it?" Nathan hesitated, because he honestly didn't know anymore. Late that evening, airport staff announced all flights were canceled due to weather. Passengers rushed desperately toward hotels. Unfortunately, every nearby hotel became fully booked within minutes. Ava sighed tiredly. "This is perfect." Nathan glanced toward her. "No hotel?" "Not unless Emma and I sleep in the airport gift shop." Emma looked excited. "I want to sleep near the teddy bears." Ava laughed despite herself. Without thinking too much, Nathan spoke. "I booked a suite earlier for work meetings. There's extra room." Ava immediately looked cautious. Nathan understood. "It's a 2-bedroom suite," he clarified calmly. "You and Emma can take one room." Ava studied him carefully for a moment, then finally nodded. "Thank you." The hotel overlooked the snowy Seattle skyline. Warm lights glowed across giant windows while storms continued outside. Emma fell asleep quickly after dinner, leaving Ava and Nathan sitting quietly near the fireplace. For a while neither spoke. Then Ava looked toward him softly. "You carry grief heavily." Nathan's eyes lifted slowly. "What makes you think that? My father used to look exactly like you after my mother died." The fire crackled gently between them. Nathan stared into the flames. "My brother died 3 years ago." Ava's expression softened instantly. "I'm sorry," Nathan nodded slightly. "He was better than me. People say that about the ones they lose." Nathan gave a faint, humorless smile. "In this case, it was true." For the next hour, Nathan talked about Liam for the first time in years. About childhood memories, Road trips, late-night conversations, shared dreams, and while he spoke, Ava listened carefully without interrupting. No judgment, no fake advice, just presence. Sometimes healing begins the moment someone truly listens. The next morning, snow still trapped the city completely, schools closed, roads blocked, flights canceled again. Emma celebrated the situation like it was a holiday. Meanwhile, Nathan strangely didn't mind staying longer. Over the next 2 days, something unexpected happened. Nathan laughed, actually laughed. Emma forced him to play board games. Ava dragged him into snowball fights outside the hotel. And slowly, the walls he spent years building around himself began cracking. One evening, Ava discovered Nathan sitting alone in the hotel lounge, staring out the window. "You disappeared." Nathan shrugged slightly. "Needed quiet." Ava sat beside him. "You know what's strange?" "What?" "You look less lonely when you smile." Nathan looked down quietly. "I forgot how." Ava smiled gently. "Well, you're improving." For several seconds, silence settled comfortably between them. Then Ava suddenly asked, "Do you ever feel guilty for surviving?" Nathan's expression changed immediately. Every muscle in his body tightened slightly. "Yes," the answer came almost like confession. Ava nodded slowly. "My sister did after her husband died." Nathan looked at her. "How did she move forward?" Ava thought carefully before answering. "She stopped asking why she survived, and started asking what she should do with the life she still had." Those words stayed inside Nathan's mind long after she left that night. 3 days later, flights finally resumed. Passengers hurried through terminals once again, but this time Nathan felt strangely empty watching Ava and Emma prepare to leave. Emma hugged him tightly. "Don't become sad again." Nathan smiled softly. "I'll try." Then Ava stepped closer. "Thank you for helping us." Nathan looked at her carefully. "What if I don't want this to end here?" Ava's breath caught slightly. The airport noise seemed distant suddenly. "Nathan, I know this sounds crazy." "Little bit," he laughed quietly, "but meeting you feels like waking up after years asleep." Ava's eyes softened emotionally, then her phone rang suddenly. Her expression changed immediately after answering. "What happened?" Nathan asked. Ava looked pale. "My sister's condition got worse." Within minutes, Ava and Emma rushed toward their boarding gate anxiously. Before leaving, Ava turned back toward Nathan. For a second it looked like she wanted to say something important. But time ran out. Then she disappeared into the crowd. For weeks afterward, Nathan couldn't stop thinking about her. He returned to Seattle, returned to meetings, returned to expensive offices and endless work. But nothing felt the same anymore, because now he understood how empty his life had truly become. One night, while cleaning old files, Nathan found a drawing Emma had secretly placed inside his bag. It showed 3 people standing together beneath snowflakes. At the top, Emma had written, "Sad people deserve love too." Nathan stared at the drawing for a very long time, then finally made a decision. The next morning, he flew to Portland. Finding Ava wasn't difficult. She taught art at a small elementary school near downtown. Nathan waited nervously outside as children ran across playgrounds laughing loudly. Then Ava appeared. The moment she saw him, surprise filled her face completely. "Nathan," he smiled awkwardly. "Hi, what are you doing here?" Nathan held up Emma's drawing gently. "She forgot to charge me for emotional therapy." Ava laughed softly despite herself. God, Nathan missed that sound. "How's your sister?" he asked. "She's recovering now." Relief crossed Nathan's face immediately. For a moment they simply stood there looking at each other. Then Ava spoke quietly. "You actually came." Nathan nodded. "I spent years running from connection because I thought losing people hurt too much." The afternoon wind moved gently around them. "But then you and Emma walked into my life for 3 days and somehow reminded me what being alive feels like." Ava's eyes filled slightly with emotion. Nathan stepped closer carefully. "I don't know where this goes," he admitted honestly, "but I know I don't want to miss it." For several seconds Ava said nothing. Then finally she smiled. And that smile felt warmer than every success Nathan had ever achieved. Months later, Nathan visited Portland every week, then eventually moved there completely. His priorities changed. Life changed. He spent less time chasing money and more time chasing moments that mattered. Together, Ava and Nathan built something neither expected. Peace. One snowy December evening, exactly 1 year after they first met, Nathan took Ava back to Seattle International Airport. Ava looked confused. "Why are we here?" Nathan smiled. "Because this place changed my life." Snow fell softly outside giant windows while travelers moved around them. Nathan reached into his pocket slowly. Ava's eyes widened immediately. "Nathan," He knelt down gently. "A year ago, I walked into this airport emotionally empty," he said quietly. "Then somehow, between delayed flights and spilled apple juice, I found you." Ava laughed through tears. Nathan's voice softened. "You taught me grief doesn't mean life is over. It simply means love existed." Tears rolled down Ava's cheeks. "And because of you, I learned how to live again." He opened the ring box carefully. "Ava Morgan, will you marry me?" Through tears and laughter together, Ava whispered, "Yes." Nearby travelers began clapping softly while snow continued falling outside the windows where their story first began. And standing there beneath airport lights and winter skies, Nathan finally understood something beautiful. Sometimes life changes completely because of one delayed moment, and one person brave enough to stay.